Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalam ala rasulillah. So now moving on to the third lesson, we're going to be going through the Fathah. It's important that they remember the terminologies Fathah, Kasra, Dhamma. Many of them would have learned that Zabr is their fish, but we stick to the Fathah. Now the common thing that I find with the Fathah is that the way certain people pronounce it is either one of two ways. They either say but, the too sudden in the way that they pronounce it, or they open their mouth too wide and they make it longer as well. They say ba, da, ba. Okay, so to keep it short yet smooth as well. So ba, da, the, ja, and so on. And as previously mentioned, as they're going through this as well, they will have to continue marking certain things down. For example, for the letter kha in their own books, they should put a circle, okay, a grip on the underneath the letters instead. So the kha would be heavy, the sad, wad, wad. Okay, excuse my circles, but yeah, anyway, the kha and the kha. Okay, and the ra also with the fathah, obviously it's heavy, but remember to mention the point that it's not counted amongst the 7 heavy letters, even though ra with a fathah it would be heavy, but it's not counted amongst the 7. So yeah, so for the fathah, keep it short, yet keep it smooth as well, and not opening your mouth too wide. As I mentioned, many people do pronounce it as ba, da, but not ba, da, fa. And using English examples really helps. So for example, in English, when I say the word up and I say the word up, it changes the meaning up, meaning the direction upwards, up, like an application on your phone, and so on. So there is a difference of meaning in English, and it will also be the case many a times in the Arabic also. Okay, now I want to go through the examples of the word examples, and I really like this book for this particular reason especially, is that even though there may be students who are new to Arabic, once they go through the alphabet and start familiarizing themselves and becoming more comfortable, they will struggle with letters when they are joined together. Okay, so if I take this page, what I mentioned to the students is before they attempt to start reading anything, they have to analyze it and think about what they see. Okay, so let's just take this one over here. We see a letter sad. Now, in terms of the makharij and all that, they should know this by now, or at least be able to recall it. But what kind of markings that they need to put down is like sad is a heavy letter, so I'm going to put a circle there, make it a bit more bigger. So it reminds them that they have to keep it round. For the qaf as well, okay, heavy here. Okay, and the dal is light. Okay, now how do they practice it? That's very, very important. Is that this is the method I really highly suggest, and highly recommend that they apply this. Even if there are students who know how to read, even more so I would say, if there are students who knew how to read Quran, they're just trying to brush up on the tajweed, to apply this method, which is first of all you only pronounce the first letter. You would say sa, making sure it's heavy, the makharij, everything's fine. Okay, sa. Then the second letter on its own, da. Then put 1 and 2 together, sa da. Then the third one, qa on its own. Then together, sa da qa. So let me do that again without an explanation. So like the students should be reading like this: sa da, sa da qa, sa da qa. Okay, because examples like this, what's going to happen is that the students are going to try to read it in one go. They're going to say sadaqa. They're going to make the dal heavy as well, because they're sandwiched between 2 heavy letters. So they make these kinds of mistakes. Or if they remember to make the dal light, they will say sadaqa. They'll make the qaf into a ka. So to avoid that, it's paying attention to each individual letter one at a time. So sa, da, sa, da, qa, sadaqa. So having this visual, it really, really helps the students. Okay, and this method as well of reading first letter on its own, then the second letter on its own, then 1 and 2 together, then the third one on its own, then 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you continue on with that. So fa, sa, la, fa, sa, la, na, ka, sa, na, ka, sa. So once they've done the top line, the second line is the same anyhow in terms of the words, but they're going to be joined together. So what I tell the students to do, especially those who are new to Arabic, is to cover the top line and then to do the same thing again. Okay, so they're looking at this, the Sad is heavy and the Qaf is heavy, and this will help them obviously remember or learn how the letters look when they join together. Okay, they learn that the Dal never joins to a letter afterwards. Okay, and so on and so forth. Okay, so same again, not reading the whole letter, whole word together, one letter at a time, and then going back. Okay, so Sa, Da, not the Qaf, you do 1 and 2 together. Sa, Da, then Qa, Sa, Da, Qa, Fa, Sa, Fa, Sa, La, Fa, Sa, La. And it's important that they're reading as slow as possible, because you will have students who learn how to read Quran before, and they're going to try to say Sadaqa, Fasala. No, but the pronunciation is going to be then compromised. Okay, so first letter on its own, second letter on its own, then 1 and 2 together, then third one on its own, and then 1, 2, 3. Okay, so Na, Ga, Na, Ga, Sa, Na, Ga, Sa. Okay, so obviously you have to put the heavy letters, signs for that as well. But yeah, that's how you practice these words with Fathah. Same will be the case with the Kasra and Dhamma as well. So yeah, it's very, very important that they keep to this, stick to this method. First letter on its own, then the second letter on its own, then 1 and 2 together, then the third one. Okay, that way, they're thinking gradually, they're thinking step by step, and they're remembering, how each letter should be pronounced. Okay, so for example, if they are reading, if they say Sa, then this on its own, Da, then you can correct them. It's not Da, it's not heavy. It's supposed to be like Da. Okay, so they're thinking this is a light letter, it's not a heavy letter. I shouldn't be making my mouth around, for example. Okay, and then once they correct that on its own, then they can do it together. And they may still even say Sa, Da. They may even make the Da into a Da sound. Then, because we've got the visual aid that only the Sad should be heavy, not the Dal, then they can figure it out themselves. Okay, Sa, Da, Sa, Da. Okay, and then Qa on its own, then altogether Sa, Da, Qa. So this method really, really helps. It is time consuming. The students may get a little bit frustrated, but at the end of it, they will truly appreciate it. And I've had that so many times. At first, students were like, this is just too long-winded, but they've realized and appreciated, this method. And ever since I, learned this method in terms of when I was teaching it, and I saw the success of it, I've never turned back. And alhamdulillah, I found it to be very beneficial. So hopefully it's the case for you guys as well, inshallah. Okay, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.